Avatar: The Last Airbender, the live action, recently released on Netflix, and I was really excited about it. I'm a huge Avatar fan, but unfortunately, as you may have heard, it didn't really hit the expectations that a lot of people were really hoping for the series. Personally, I was really looking forward to it, especially after the recent One Piece live action adaptation and how well that did. I was hoping that Netflix would come back with another masterpiece and do Avatar the justice that it deserved. And although I really don't think it was the worst thing they could have done, at this point, I don't see why anyone should ever watch the live action when the original cartoon still exists and does every single thing better. And while I don't want to sit here and compare every single little thing that the cartoon did, because obviously it's impossible to perfectly recreate a cartoon into a live action, especially with the type of action that's present in Avatar, I still feel like there were a lot of things that Avatar could have done a lot better to do the series more justice, especially in the realm of the character development and just the dialogues and how awkward some of the characters and the I don't know. It just really didn't feel the same. When you're recreating a series like Avatar with its really iconic characters, I mean, Aang, Katara, Sokka, Zuko, Iroh, the lovable characters that have just formed the series, it's really hard to do them justice when they already have such a set personality. And although I really respect the casting and I understand a lot of the decisions that they made, it's just really hard with what the writers gave them and the opportunity they gave them to build the characters. For example, I mean, look at Aang. I mean, Aang went from a happy-go-lucky kid to just uh, he was all nearly almost solemn the whole time. He had I don't want to say he had no personality, but he wasn't really given the chance to just like show that he's a kid. I mean, almost the whole time he was being serious and trying to just like do his duty as the Avatar. I mean, I understand that you can't fit in all of the scenes and all of the things that were in the live action and or that were in the original series, but I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why they decided to cut some of the things that they did and decided to include some of the things that they did. Obviously, like including things like the giant koi fish on Kyoshi Island that Aang originally went to the island to ride. Like that would have taken a lot of budget to like animate those fishes and things. But it's just such an important part of Aang's character and showing how he's just a goofy little kid. But they prioritize things that tried to make the tone more serious, and I felt like if they were trying to make the series more serious, they really should have gone even further in that direction, maybe aged up the characters. But it was just almost awkward trying to see like a 12-year-old kid be that serious and that strong. And I understand that that's more realistic to the situation that he was in, but I just feel like it really didn't work in the end, and it really led me to like I don't want to say cringing, but a lot of times I was like holding back, like come on, like I know I could sit here all day and talk about the little things that I wish they did better and how they could have stuck to the show more faithfully, or how they even could have maybe gone off even further and made it even more dark if they really wanted to like have their own full control of the series. But I don't think it's right for me to just sit and keep comparing the two when they're really their own things. So I actually want to talk about a few of the things that I really did like about the live action, especially in the realm of Iroh and Zuko. In the original series, Iroh and Zuko, their relationship is honestly my probably my favorite in the series, and Iroh being probably my favorite character. And it really exemplifies probably the most complex character in Zuko. And I really think that the actors did a really good job in trying to portray this. And I think part of that may be due to more of their experience as actors, as they're a little bit older than a few of the other casties. But I wouldn't even say that's it. I would say they were just written better. I mean, it was. I guess it's easier for them to give a more serious tone for Zuko, because he was even more serious in the actual animated version. Um, but I will admit that I really think that was something they almost got perfect. I wouldn't say perfectly. I was something that they did very well. And other than Iroh and Zuko, Another part of the series I really liked was Suki, and although she was only in there for one episode, I thought she did a fantastic job. But this really is not her fault. The fact that they left out Sokka's like sexist attitude towards like the Kyoshi warriors, uh, I really feel like that took away from his character and made the whole relationship with Suki and the Kyoshi warriors in that episode. It was just something I couldn't like take my head off of because I felt like it was such a crucial part of Sokka's character that kind of took away from that whole episode. And I mean, speaking of the sexism, the fact that they even took it out of like the first episode when they're discovering Aang and the ice, that part was like, I'm not like a some social justice warrior, but like that was one of the most influential parts of the first season. Was Sokka's character growth and showing how he comes to terms with like how he can accept a woman as something more than just like a mother or a caretaker or someone who stays at home. And that honestly is something I really disliked, and I can't accept that with what they did. I mean, it was honestly, it really annoyed me. And although they did Sokka dirty with that whole character arc, and I also wasn't really the biggest fan at the beginning. I felt like some of his jokes weren't really landing. I think especially towards the end, he more grew into the role, and if the series continues, I really think he will continue to get better. And I really think, especially near the end of the series, I think he did a really good job. So I do think Sokka did a decent job. And for Katara, I think the actress did as good as she could with what she was given. I mean, when you look at the animated version, you see that like Katara is like a strong, independent like girl. Like she's a warrior. I mean, with Paku, she like directly confronts him, fights him, and I know that kind of happens in the live action, but it just doesn't have the same effect. Um, I don't mind that they left out, unless I missed it, that like Paku was betrothed to Katara's gran, because I think that kind of like took away from like Paku's character even in the animated series, because it made it seem like the only reason that he allowed Katara to fight was because like he liked his grandma or her grandma. I just felt like it was just done awkwardly and almost glanced over, and I think that like one of the key parts of Avatar, and at least the first season, especially in the anime series, was supposed to be that like sexist ideal and showing how both Sokka is growing and pushing away his old ideals, and how Katara is like spreading and like growing into like one of, if not the strongest characters in the show. Not like physically, but like as a person, obviously. I mean, she's really strong as like a fighter too, but just like as a whole, she's just one of the strongest characters in the show. Um, and that was something that really was just annoying to me. And now's the big one, Aang. He, I really wish that Aang was given a better opportunity to show his little quirks. I thought the actor did a fine job for what he was given. I mean, it was just, he wasn't given a chance to display his personality or show that he's a goofy kid or do anything funny. He was just so serious all the time. And I don't know if they're going to just like get rid of the romance between Aang and Katara, because I personally, I don't know if that's like really a necessity. I mean, I can't actually, that's a lie. That definitely is a necessity. Not really for Katara, but more for Aang, because his whole idea of like being sucked into the Avatar role, and wanting to be his own person and love someone and love Katara, like that's definitely something that needs to happen. But I feel like they really removed a lot of that aspect from the series. I don't know why. I mean, like when he was mad, or when he like got into the Avatar state and like the Southern Air Temple, and it was more like, I think it was his memories of Gyatso that brought him down instead of Katara and like her hugging him. Like it was just another thing that was just like, why would you remove that? Why would you change that? That's one of the core things for Aang, is his like being an actual like complex character and not just being some Avatar and I am going to save the world and I must fulfill my duty. Like he's a much more in-depth character. It's just I don't know. That is one of probably the two things that annoyed me the most was them getting rid of Sokka's sexism and them getting rid of Aang and Katara's like relationship and making Aang such a one-dimensional character. It's I don't know. I really hope they can if they do another season, if they can go more into depth to try and fix it. But other than the characters, I just want to talk about the one last thing. I just want to talk about the visuals and the way it looked, and I will just say that it looked amazing. That the scenery, like the landscapes, the bending, I mean, it was really pretty good. Other than some of the water bending looked like water gun or like just little splashes. They were just like, pew, 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 and they looked a little weak. I know a lot of people are gonna point towards Aang at the beginning when he's like floating down from the sky and it looks like he's flying and like talking about how like Zahir from Korra had to like lose all his like earthly attachments just to be able to do that. I'm of the opinion he wasn't really flying. He was just like kind of floating down using an airbending. He is literally the Avatar. He was the youngest airbending master of all time. He's so light. There's no way you're telling me that he couldn't just float down from the sky. And also one more thing I want to talk about was the more heavy inclusion of Azula, Ty Lee, and May and Ozai. I mean, I felt like all of that stuff was just filler that they could have saved for later and they could have gone more into depth. And it didn't even need a me like highly animated CG scenes. I just wanted Aang to be a kid. I just get rid of all the Azula, Ty Lee, freaking May stuff or whatever, and just give me more Aang. They will get their time to shine, and we didn't even get to see. I don't know if they're gonna change it in the future, like how Ty Lee and May and Azula met. I don't know, and I don't know. It was just hard because like it was kind of hard for me to take Azula seriously because she looked like such a little kid and she was trying to be so serious and like trying to prove to her father that I'm the rightful heir. And it was just I don't know. She's supposed to be like cynical and like insane, and she was more just like man, just like mean. I don't know. Like they really need to display that she is a psycho if they're gonna continue the series. But yeah, I know this review wasn't really linear. I didn't really have a plan. I just wanted to come and talk about it. Um, if you had opinions, please let me know. So I know I'm not the only one sharing these ideas. Um, but yeah, thanks for watching and see ya.